All right, so as we begin to draw this still life, what we want to do is just map it out using those four basic forms. As you can see here, we have a cylinder, and the cup is kind of a sphere and cylinder mix, and the box is a kind of rectangular prism. The tomato in the middle is a sphere. The pitcher is a cone looking object, looks like a cone on the top, a cone on the bottom. And you can see the big blue sphere in the background. You can see the vase is like a sphere, cylinder, cone at the top. So you can see all these different forms arranged in this still life. And that's what you need to get full credit. You need to have examples of each of the four basic forms. So now, as we proceed to draw this, what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at and mapping it out. So what I like to do is I kind of look at the cup here on the side. I'm going to start kind of from the bottom left, because I see in the bottom left we have this cup, and the base is near the bottom, and it comes up somewhere in here. And again, if I notice, if this is my halfway point, I can see that the top of the box is about halfway. So I know that the opening of this cup is somewhere down here. The bottom of the base of the cup is somewhere over here, and I can then begin to kind of map out what this cup is going to look like. And again, right at this point, I'm just kind of using a sketched lines just to give myself some starting point. So then, if this is where the cup is, and I can see the handle is over here somewhere, handle kind of comes off towards the edge of the page, something like this. If this is where the cup is, near the bottom, okay, and then I look at about halfway up the cup, I see the box moves over, okay, the bottom of the box, and then just above the bottom of the page here is where this circle would end, and the circle is just basically the front of this tuna can, and I can see the tuna can reaches kind of up. Using this as my reference point, I can see the tuna can reaches up not quite as tall as the cup. So I'm just going to kind of sketch in very lightly some sphere lines, or just give myself a general area. Now, is this going to be the final? No, we're just going to sketch out the different parts. Now we see the box comes up just above the lip of this cup right here, or the shoulder of this cup. We can see the box comes across, and it's obviously going to be parallel. Using what I know about the four basic forms, I know this box is going to be parallel. And then if I come down like this, I can see there's the can, and again at this point I'm just sketching using what I know about a cylinder, how it starts with a circle, has two parallel lines here, and then it closes with the same circle. Now I can start to take out some of the lines. If I know I don't want the lines, I can start to take those out. Now we also see that the box actually comes out. So if I follow this line across, the box comes out right about here. It comes up, and it goes back behind the can. So this line would just continue right through the can off the other side, and I can see that there's like an opening in this box. I think it's a cereal box, so it opens up. All right. Then if I look at this angle right here, there's an angle here. And if I look at that angle, it's not a right angle. This would be a right angle. It's more of an acute angle, and it kind of heads back in this direction. It's a little more than 45, probably a 50-degree angle coming back this way. So I'm going to start that line here. Now again, keeping in mind, this is the halfway point of my page, and if I look at my drawing, I can see the halfway point. I see the box is just below the halfway point. So what I'm going to do is come over here where the other side of the box comes out of the top of this cup, same type of angle, comes out, doesn't quite make it to the halfway point, but comes up and then it slides in before it hits right in here where the vase is going to be. And the vase is going to be somewhere in here. So I'm going to just kind of give myself the bottom of the vase, and then below the bottom of the vase is a sphere somewhere in the middle here. And again, just giving myself very lightly now. This is all just sketching. I'm mapping out where I want these parts to be. I also see that the pitcher comes up and over, kind of like this. Disappears back behind the tomato. So I'm using, you'll notice how, the reason I'm talking you through this, I want you to listen to my thoughts on how each part is relative to another part. So again, the part of the pitcher is relative to this tomato, which is right in here. All right, and again, the pitcher looks very much like a cone. And then the collar, obviously, is a cylinder. And then the top of the pitcher comes up, and it resembles, to me, it resembles an upside down cone. So something like this, and then the tip of the pitcher obviously comes down so you can see that it opens. Something like that. And then over here we have the handle, which comes up just a little bit above, something like this, and it comes back down and hooks back around. So something like that. And again, all this is just sketching for right now. Then on top of this sphere base, kind of an oval, egg-shaped base, we're going to have a cylinder that meets the sphere and is merged with it, and it comes up quite a bit. So I'm going to go right up here toward the top, and up here is where my cone is going to then merge back down with this. And again, this is not perfect right now. This is only a sketch. You can always come back. Once you have it sketched in, you can come back and kind of make it more symmetrical. All right, so that's a good layout. Now, if I look, I'm going to choose just one line for my surface to divide the surface from the background. Even though there's a couple lines there I could use, I'm just going to use this line to divide my surface from my background. And then I've got this thing laid out using the entire page, the entire surface of the page. You can see it looks pretty good. Now the next move is to come in and take out any lines you don't need, just to kind of solidify what you have. Keep the outlines that you like and get rid of the ones that you don't. So something like this. Something like this. I'm going to kind of solidify these lines here, get rid of the extra lines that I don't need. And what I'm going to do at that point is then start looking for shadows. Now I know just from studying the 4 basic forms, the shadow of a cylinder is going to look like a cylinder. Right? The shadow of a sphere is going to look like an oval laying on the ground. All right, and again, I'm coming in, just kind of touching up, getting rid of some of the extra lines that I don't need, because now I'm getting ready to put in my light and shadow. And don't worry if it looks like a circle or not. It doesn't have to. That comes with practice. I'm more worried about you mapping this out and getting it to look similar than I am about you getting it to look exact. It doesn't have to look exact. Doesn't have to look exact. Just similar. All right. And again, I'm going to erase what I don't need and start looking for the shadows. The next thing we want to do is start looking for those shadows. So I can see a shadow that comes off the box. The most obvious shadow I see comes off the box, down onto the ground, and then wraps back around and connects to the form here. Now keep in mind, you can see through the shadow. Notice the shadow is not completely darked out because you can actually see through the shadow. But it does get a little bit of a shaded tone, right? Because it is a shadow. So we're going to give it a little shading where that shadow is. And same thing on the floor. Give it a little bit of shading. So I'm using the side of my pencil now, just giving it some tonal value. To notice that there's the shadow. So if the shadow's coming from this direction, I know I can look for the same thing underneath this form, which is the cone form or the pitcher. See that? So I can add my shadow here. And then I know the sphere is going to have a shadow, even though I can't really quite make it out on top of that box. I know from drawing the 4 basic forms what the shadow should look like. And this is what it should look like. It should look like an oval. All right, and the same thing is true for this one. Even though I don't quite see it as strong, I know what it should look like. And so I'm going to put the shadow in based on what I already know it should look like. And you see how that really starts to define those forms. And then we could take out this so that the tomato doesn't look. We don't want the tomato looking like it's see-through here. So I'm going to come in, just going to sketch that out. All right, and then we have to decide, okay, what's darker, the tomato or the glass behind it? And so you have to kind of make a decision here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a little bit of a medium tone here, a medium tone, because I know where my light's coming from. It's coming from the upper right. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a medium tone to the direction of my shadow. That'll be my tomato. And then here, this is kind of a glass object, so it has some different reflective qualities too, but I'm just going to shade it in as if it's a solid, knowing that if the light is coming from the upper left, my shadow is going to be down at the lower right, or upper right is going to be down at the lower left. And I'm just going to shade it according to what I know, not necessarily what I see here in this still life, because it's a little bit hard to tell where those shadows are. So I know that a cone and cylinder should be shaded something like this if the light is coming from over there. Something like that. Okay, so then if I come down here, I see that the cup, I can see the shadow of the cup, the handle is on the ground. This one's a little bit more clear, so that one I can really copy. I don't really have to guess too much on that one. But if I needed to, I could guess. So then I'm going to use the side of my pencil to give it a darker value right in here, and the shadow continues right around back of the cup. All right. Okay, so there it is. Now I'm just going to continue to work my way around, trying to notice and put in shadows where I know they should go, or shading where I know it should go. Now, since this plastic piece is dark, I'm just going to shade it dark. Not necessarily based on a shadow, just based on the shadow or the plastic being dark. Don't forget, if you need to move your paper around, feel free to move your paper around to get a better angle. And that concludes this drawing. So we went from mapping it out to solidifying and finalizing our shapes and forms, and then adding the cast shadows. All right, great job, and we'll see you again next time.